Well, it's good to see you back. Here I am again with another story, Tim. And I'm continuing my trilogy of the worst toilets that I've ever known. And this one is actually in Kenya. One of the areas that I lived, which was one of my favorite parts in all the world, is Nakuru, Kenya. And Nakuru is in the Rift Valley of Kenya. It's right there on Lake Nakuru, which if you ever seen the movie Out of Africa, or you remember the part where Robert Redford and Meryl Streep are flying over this lake and there's all these pink flamingos? Well, that's Lake Nakuru, and I used to live in a house just right above that lake. It was absolutely gorgeous over there. For somebody like me that's into birds and ornithology, it was just a paradise. Literally hundreds of species of birds in that area. Well, one of the places in the Nakuru game preserve, which is, I used to go at least 3 or 4 times a week, was what they called Lion Hill. It was a tented camp, and we would enjoy going over there and chilling out. It was like this kind of a game, like a lodge where you could stay up in there. And I remember one night I had taken my Aunt Noreen and her friend Joanne to go and travel around there, and I showed them around different animals and stuff like that because I grew up in Africa, and I was just like another game guide. I knew all the names of the animals and the birds and the rocks and how they got there. As my daddy would say, I'm an encyclopedia of unrelated facts, So anyway, I took them over there, and we had I had some good times with them, and that night we were going to spend at Lion Hill Camp there at Lake Nakuru. Well, I remember we were in a tented camp, and I had one tent to myself, and Noreen and Joanne had another tent. And, of course, you don't have a toilet in your tent. You have to be kind of careful because at night, that's when the lions are out, because normally a lot of times they hunt in the night. Not always, but a lot of times they hunt at night, so you have to be kind of careful. So you walk kind of carefully over there to where this outdoor toilet was. And so I remember I went in there and I unzipped the door and went in there to go and do my business. And I thought, well, this is a pretty nice place. And I looked at the toilet seat and I said, well, it looks pretty clean and stuff like that. It was a wooden toilet seat. And I thought, well, that looks pretty heavy duty. So I went on down there and I sat down there. But what I didn't realize is that the toilet seat had a crack on it. So what would happen is when you sat down, the crack would open up. And then when you started to kind of lift up a little bit, the crack would close right there on your butt cheek. So, I don't know if you've ever had anybody pinch you really hard on your butt cheek, but you go something like this, ah! And you can't help but scream because it's pretty alarming when suddenly in the middle of the night in the dark you feel somebody, you don't even have been snake bit or what. So you'll be just screaming in horror as this thing goes. And then it's like one of those kind of Japanese, have you ever seen those Chinese finger puzzles, where if you pull hard, you can't get out, you have to push down to let the thing loosen up, and then you get it. So sort of like that, so you kind of have to kind of push down a little bit, so it will release you like the jaws of a bear trap or something to let go of your bottom, and then you get up there and you kind of hold the seat down, then you can get up and, oh my God, man, I've made it off of there. But, so that was one of the worst toilets I've ever seen. But the end of the story is after you've had something like that happen to you, you become aware of the danger of it, right? So my tent was just a couple down from where this toilet thing was. And so, you'd be listening there and you would hear this zipping noise like they were getting ready to get in there. And sure enough, it just 30 seconds or so, you'd hear this, this blood-curdling scream, and you would know that, oh, the toilet seat got somebody else, man. And that was another story, Tim.